Anderson from Team Target. All the best to everybody at iRacing Brazil.
Simona Di Silvestro, and I hope all the iRacers in Brazil are having a lot of fun on iRacing.
Hi, I'm Justin Wilson. Want to say hello to all the iRacers down in Brazil. Hope you have fun, enjoy the racing, take it easy.
Hey, I'm Wyatt Gooden and iRacing Brazil, awesome league. You guys are great, cool league.
Quero mandar um abraço aí pro pessoal do iRacing Brasil. Continue jogando aí.
Aí galera, eu sou o Hélio Castro Neves, fique ligado no iRacing Brasil. Vamos lá, Brasil!
Vamos lá.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 5th round of the 2013 16th Street Racing League, and we are in the desert. It is Phoenix International Raceway, the 1 mile oval that will challenge drivers today for 145 laps for the 5th round of the season, and of course, the 3rd and final of the oval races that made up the first part of this season. Wolvenson, along with the returning Aaron Likens, as qualifying is well underway. And Aaron, this track is incredibly demanding for drivers. It is difficult, it's hard, it's almost like a shrunk down version of Motegi. Turn 1 and 2, you're going to have to lift that car. Turn 3 and 4, pretty much always flat out, but still, it forces drivers to adapt every single lap.
This is a track where every single lap the car can handle differently. If you miss your mark in turn 1 or turn 2, expect today to hear us talk about drivers maybe brushing the wall off of turn 2. Very easy to get on the gas just a little bit too soon, and a lot of the ovals require, as 3 and 4 are, flat out. Turns 1 and 2, very tricky, very demanding, and 3 and 4, very easy. If you're in traffic, dirty air can push you out. You can hit the wall in turn 4. Also, 2 cars going into turn 3. Oftentimes, only 1 or maybe none can come out. So very demanding, not only to drive by yourself, but when you have 27 other cars on the racetrack, very, very demanding. Absolutely.
Qualifying is just about in the books. Matt Cook has got himself pole position in the number 66 Aero X racing machine. Row number 1, even lining up alongside him, will be Martin Miller in the number 26 Banshee Autosport car. And then on the inside of row number 2 will be Ryan Murray in the number 16 car. Tim Holgate lining up alongside him in row 2, and Nefriarg Joe Branch in row number 3. Now, couple of things that we can deduce from this qualifying session. Once again, the Panther boys are good in qualifying. However, the Banshee Aero X combination, they have been flying here today, taking the first row of the grid.
Taking the first row, and they got about a half-tenth on the second row, but Well, I think the middle part of this field, looking at the qualifying times, pulls at 20.938. It's less than 2/10 all the way back to about 16th, 17th. So today's race is going to be very competitive. I doubt we're going to see a runaway. This is going to be a great show.
Going to be a great show indeed. Fuel window for this race is somewhere in the region of about 40 to 45 laps, depending on how much fuel you want to save, how aggressive you're going to go. Cars on the mid pack can go anywhere to about 45 laps, where it is going to be close on fuel, and that will be a big part in this race. To run through your grid then for round number 5 of the 2013 16th Street Racing League: Matt Cook, Martin Miller, row number 1. Row number 2, Ryan Murray, Tim Holgate. Row number 3, Nefriag, Joe Branch. Row number 4 is Joshua Chin, Niles Anders. Row 5, Brendan Lichtenberg and Matt Kingsbury. Row 6, Mark Schaefer, Randy Crosno. Row number 7, Terry Mattinson and Brian Simpson. Row 8, James McClure and Kerry Bettenhausen. Row 9, Paul Jenkins, Niall McBride. And row number 10, Eric Davis, David Stockrider. Don't forget, the 16th Street Racing League oval portion of the championship is brought to you by iRaceForLife.org. iRace for Life, with its partnership with the 16th Street Racing League, donating $5 to the winner's charity of choice. Young O won the last race at Twin Remotegi, and those $5 go to Orphan Secure. Pit road speed today is 45 miles an hour, and these guys say we'll have to pit anywhere between 40 and 45 laps. We normally see a couple of cautions early on in this race, Aaron. The first couple of laps on cold tyres can be incredibly skaty.
Yes, I was looking back at last year, and last season only 2 yellows. Both of those came out early, and if there's one thing tricky, it seems every track we go to, we mention this, but getting onto pit road under green here, I saw a lot of drivers practicing that in practice with mixed results. So you're right, these first couple laps, very, very tricky on cold tires.
Keep an eye out on pit exit as well. You'll see it on this pace lap. The pit exit literally blends right in to the racing groove on the exit or turn number 2. Gonna have to have a lot of heads-up driving here, especially if we get green flag pit stops. The transfer race early on today went green, light to end, and I think that we might get a bit of a green flag feel to it if the field can settle down over the first 5 to 10 laps or so after a restart. Cars working themselves down into turn number 3 and 4. You see, the lights are out on the pace car. We're going to go green flag racing, 145 laps for the 5th round of the 2013 16th Street Racing League. Will Vincent along with Aaron Likens. And we are getting ready for that pace car to make its first journey down towards pit road. Matt Cook on the inside of row number 1. Martin Miller on the outside, getting set to go racing here. When's Cook going to go? Now he's going to go green flag in the air. And I tell you what, a little bit of a bubble in the mid-pack there, but they're all trying to get themselves single file. They work through turn number 1 and 2 for the first time. You've got Niles Anders going 3 wide up top there, and almost a little bit of contact there with one of his teammates. Brendan Lichtenberg was involved in that as well, but they work themselves down into turn number 3 for the first time. Schaefer on the inside of Kingsbury. He's going to get the job done. We've got a car all the way down on the apron there. That is Mark Schaefer. He's able to get back into the groove, but he loses himself a couple of positions. Everyone is through turn number 1 on lap number 2. See Randy Crosno well up high there. He's trying to work with James McClure on the racetrack right now. Those two avoided contact. Now they will slowly start to settle it down, Aaron, over the next lap and a half or so. This is when those tyres will warm up, the slip slide emotions will go away, and now finally they can get themselves into a groove.
Let's hope they settle down. Wow. If we showed replays of all the near misses on the first 2 laps there, I think we'd be here at least 2 hours. We had cars on the apron, cars nearly hitting the wall, and there's one thing. If you get on that apron coming out of turn 4, that was a great save there. It's so easy. You get on the apron, the rear end can snap around instantly. So an amazing first couple laps.
Out front, though, it is all about Matt Cook. He got himself a 6/10 of a second gap over Martin Miller at the start of this race. We're working ourselves on lap number 4 right now. Let's see whether Cook can begin to pull away from Martin Miller or whether Miller will come back. Last time by, the gap eked out a little bit. Tim Holgate is still there running in the 3rd position. Ryan Murray, let's not forget, he had a great qualifying. Qualified in 3rd, he's running in the 4th position. And Niles Anders, he's having his best run. And Niles is one of those guys that just absolutely loves Phoenix. I remember there's this great shot of him, Sean Stroud, Ryan Murray, 3 wide into turn number 1. They made it stick. And Norris absolutely loves this racetrack, Aaron.
He loves this racetrack, and this track really is a blast to drive. Some of the tracks, every lap, you just run the motions as, ooh, car goes under Nell Sanders, almost contact there, as that would be Joshua Chin, who I struggled a little bit in qualifying. Let's see if he can work his way up through the field, but this track is so much fun. It is so demanding. Yes, you have to be perfect. One bobble, one little slip, you're in the wall, race over, and not else, this is his type of racetrack.
Josh Chin behind him. He is having a good run right now as he's looking down to the inside again of Niles Landers. Not quite close enough though, as they work themselves back down into turn number 1 and 2. Got great racing all the way through the field. You've got Brian Simpson on the inside. Oh, now McBride in the last row motorsports car. Looks as though Simpson is going to have to try and hold that inside line to come down into turn number 3 and 4. McBride on the outside. You can sometimes get a better run on the outside at this racetrack. However, Simpson able to run the inside, and he is going to get himself up 1 position, moving himself up into the 16th position. He is, however, 2 places below where he qualified. The mid-pack right now is so closely matched. By the way, Josh Chin has been able to get himself past Niles Landers. Now they're trying to close up to the rear of Ryan Murray as they get that great qualifying. But all the way from about Ryan Murray back to about Nefriag. These cars are separated by no more than 2 car lengths on the racetrack. And it is great, fascinating racing here. But now they're in that stage of the race. 10 laps scored complete. Everyone's getting their head down. And there are a couple of charges coming through the field. Mark Schaefer trying to recover from that almost spin on lap number 2 of the race. And he is working himself right now on Brandon Lichtenberg in the number 12 car. But now these guys get themselves into a rhythm and try perhaps save a little bit of fuel, because the one thing you do not want to do is come onto pit road with 10 or 12 of you at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. This track, very difficult to get on. And again, it seems a resounding theme that we talk about fuel mileage, but you're right. Everybody is so close that it can be very difficult to make a move. You can be in a line of 5 cars, and you can be the 5th car and be the fastest, but if those 2 cars in front of you are constantly going side by side, you mentioned 3 wide earlier, typically that's not going to work, and so if you can pull off 2 extra laps and save a few tenths on pit road, that can mean 5 spots right now.
And you say we're already working ourselves on lap number 13. Josh Chin has caught fully up to the rear now of Ryan Murray. In fact, he's going to look down to the inside. And will be our first caution of the day. And James McClure, he has not had a good run this season. We'll get ourselves a replay of that in just 1 moment's time.
Randy Cosno also involved.
Yeah, and he was James was down on the inside there of the 8 car of Terry Mattinson. Looks as though he just came up a tiny bit. He was running in the 2nd groove. Terry Mattinson expected him to run in the 1st groove. You see the car ahead of him. That was Mike Kingsbury. He was down in the 1st groove. And then Randy Cosno unfortunately collected the collateral damage there. Nothing Randy Cosno could do. It looks like he caught the front wing. That just lost all the downforce on his car. Speared it onto the outside safety barrier. And he is going to have... yeah, he's out of the race.
And that's unfortunate. Remember, at Homestead, almost the same deal. Just got caught up in an incident that had nothing to do with what he was doing. So sometimes in racing, when your luck goes, there is absolutely nothing you can do. Nothing Krosno could do to avoid that.
Pit road is open. Joshua Chin stays out, however, so he will assume the race lane. And we've seen split strategies from him before. Matt Cook into his pit box. He, of course, was the first guy in. And let's see whether he can come out the first in line. I tell you what, a good comeback there by Holgate. I'm not sure if he was able to get Cook, but he certainly did get Martin Miller there. And I'll get the... I actually think that perhaps Holgate might just have got... I think he did just get Matt Cook there. It's a very short run to the line, and it does look as though Holgate was indeed able to get ahead of Matt Cook. However, a couple of guys who stayed out. John Porzek, Brandon Trost, Paul Jenkins, Joshua Chin. 4 guys stayed out. It does look as though that Brandon Trost is thinking about coming onto pit road. No, he doesn't. So 4 guys. This is going to be a fascinating restart. Some guys on old tyres with lower fuel. Some guys on fresh tyres and lots of fuel. And, of course, we saw this at Motegi Split Strategies, Aaron. And what this essentially means now is we've got 2 different races. Some guys have got almost half a tank less fuel in that car right now, and they're hoping that they can get themselves a bit of an advantage in this middle stage of the race.
Man, I don't know about the split strategy right now. Only 4 cars stayed out, and if this race goes, let's see, you said 45 laps, 45, 90. Oh, these drivers at pit are going to have 1 less lap. So if we go green the rest of the way, I believe these drivers that stayed out are going to be on the short end of the stick on this one. Last year, though, 2 yellows, and I'm sure Chin would have wanted a couple more cars to stay out. There's only 3 cars between him and the cars behind. Another aspect, though, restarting here. If you're restarting in the middle of the corner, this is one of the trickier tracks to get the power down. So let's see if we have any issues. Let's see if we go 1 to green this time.
Does look as though we are going to go 1 to green. And also, it's double file restarts here. Because the track is 1 mile in length, we run the kind of short oval rules here. So the cars will line up double file for this restart. And that, again, just amplifies the issues. Now, for the guys a little bit further back through the field, this will stack the field up for them just a little bit. And then, of course, one thing that you're hoping these guys up front don't have an issue with is they don't spin their tyres. If one of these top 4 drivers spin their tyres, this could be catastrophic all the way through the field. Let's not forget, the front stretch here is so narrow. Not like, for example, a Texas or Las Vegas, whatever. This track has absolutely nothing on either side of the racetrack itself, except for 2 very blue, very hard safer barriers. Lights out on the pace car. Chin on the inside of row num. And you've got Paul Jenkins alongside him, Brandon Trace, John Paul's 4th, lights out, and here we go once again. Green flag in the air. A little bit of a wiggle there for Trost, but they're all sliding back into line. I tell you what, Trost is going to go down to the inside. He'll get the pass done on Paul Jenkins, but Holgate, he's also going to get a good run through the corner. He's already going to get past.
We got a spin in the back of the field.
A spin is out in the field. That will bring the caution back out, and that is huge. Martin Miller. And he, of course, was running in the 2nd position. Let's see what happened to him. It does look as though he had 2 wheels on the apron, yet he just lost it all by himself there in the 26 car. Most people got past him. I think just 1 or 2 guys clipped him at the very, very end there. And replay is up on your screen. I've got a feeling it was one of the Bettenhausens who just clipped him. Yes, it was. He's got a little bit of damage to the right-hand side there. And Todd Bettenhausen, the unfortunate victim there from that. And what this really does now is it confuses that strategy, because the one thing you don't want to do now is pit if you're one of those top 4 guys, Aaron. However, you are now playing into the hands of the guys who came onto pit road because of the fact that these caution laps is going to be better for them than the guys who've only got about half a tank of fuel left.
Yeah, if this race would have gone green, one of the advantages of staying out is they would have been lighter. They would have been 2-3 of a second faster every single lap. And now the advantage really is somewhat negated. Essentially, this is just going to be a do-over. If we get a couple more of these yellows in succession, then it's going to be much more major. But it's going to be interesting to see if Martin Miller, he just barely got brushed at the end. He is coming into the pits right now. We'll see how much damage he has. He almost got away with it. Everybody just about missed him. Unfortunate, but when you're in the back of the field and everybody's scattering, you're not going to see that car to the last minute.
Yeah, and that's one of the things here, that sometimes you make your own luck, and for 90% of that wreck, Martin Miller did make his own luck. He would have been fine. It was just at the very, very end, it all went wrong for him. Let's see whether or not he will be able to get himself back into this race. He has put his car back out, so he might be okay. Tim Miller also decided to pit there, as did Mark Shute. A couple of other guys down the rear end of the field did pit as well. But we've got John Paulzek. He decided that he wanted to take no more part of that strategy, and he is going to fall right to the rear of the field, but he is on pit road. So your top 3, Josh Chin, Brandon Trost, Paul Jenkins, they did not pit. Tim Holgate, he'll be starting on the outside of row number 2. Now, of course, he got that great start last time because he was on the inside line. Now, that role's reversed because Matt Cook is on the inside of row number 3 for this restart. And arguably, you're going to have to say he might get the better restart this time. He'll take that position back from Tim Holgate that he lost on pit road.
Yeah, there's one thing I much rather would start third or fifth a lot of times than second. Especially here, you can so easily get hung up out on the outside. And if you're fourth behind second, same thing. You can get hung up behind the guy in front of you, and that inside row can gain 2, 3, 4 spots before the cars on the outside are able to get to the inside. And Brandon I thought was going to come in, but he did that same thing going low. So we should get one to go this time.
Indeed we should. Let's keep an eye out. Lights are off on the pace car. So our second caution here, working ourselves on lap number 22. And we are going to restart here. 145 laps of course race distance here. Pit road speed is 45 miles an hour. Pacing speed is 60 miles an hour. Track temperature 78 degrees Fahrenheit. And northerly wind today of 2 miles an hour. And race humidity, well, that is 55%. An update on your retiree. James McClaw and Randy Cosno are out of the race. Todd Bettenhausen looks as though he indeed will now be classified as out of the race as well. He is taking that car behind the wall. And we've also got one car. No, he's not on the scored one lap down. So everyone else is scored on the lead lap for the time being. Of course, Terry Martinson has got himself some damage to that number 8 car with that incident with James McClaw a little bit early on. Pace car going to pull back in once again. Getting set to go back to green flag racing here at Phoenix, and here we go. Good restart there by your top 3 drivers. Now it's going to be a case of can they all get through turn number 1 and 2? Okay. On the outside, you've got a couple of cars getting a little bit loose. See Nefriag down to the inside there of Ryan Murray. Oh my God, look at that. Niles Anders almost makes it 3 wide out of turn number 2. They're almost 3 wide. They are 3 wide down in turn number 3 and 4. The cars ahead of him, and Matt Cook there gets past Tim Holgate, and that almost ended in disaster. But here we have now Paul Jenkins, and Matt Cook's going to go back down to the inside of Brandon Trost. Trost held out to dry on the outside.
Trost was turning in and realized that Cook was coming, and he thankfully gave way. That could have been bad. Heads up driving there by Trost to give Cook the line.
And he is falling right back now. You see, this is a true momentum track. If you have to get out of it the way that Trost did, then you are going to lose all forms of positions. He's right now got Nefriag, who is on his inside, and will try and do the cut under. The answer is there. No, he won't. However, Matt Cook is all over the rear of Paul Jenkins, his Aero X Racing teammate right now. And for Paul, he's got to try and stay ahead of Matt Cook as much as possible, because if he comes behind, then his entire strategy is out of the window. He's got to hope that he can pull up to the rear of Josh Chim, and those two can pull away. Of course, Chim is thinking, well, you two carry on battling. If I can get this gap up to about 1.1 seconds, I'll be out of draft range. I can do what I want on this slow fuel. I can then get myself the advantage I need. But Cook really hasn't been able to find a way to get past Paul Jenkins yet, as we're working ourselves right now on lap number 27. Here comes Cook down to the inside, and this should be an easy pass now down in turn number 3 and 4. The answer is yes, it is. Jenkins is shuffled back to the 3rd position.
Yeah, no reason for Jenkins there to really force the issue or make it difficult early in the race. Split strategy, so Jenkins now probably going to fall behind and just try to keep up with Cook.
So we have got ourselves running through your top 5. Josh Chin leading away by about 1 second on the racetrack. Paul Jenkins in 3rd. Tim Holgate 4th. Nefriag rounds out your top 5. Then we got Brandon Trost, who is now in 6th position. Niles Anders 7th. Joe Branch 8th. Ryan Murray 9th. And Brendan Lichtenberg rounds out your top 10. I tell you what though, oh look at this, Brandon Trost, is he going to go down to the inside? No, he won't. Not quite this lap there. However, he's been all over the rear of Nefriag the last couple of laps or so. For Josh Chim, he has got the speed he needs. However, I'm struggling to figure out exactly how he's going to make this split strategy work, unless you're going to get a caution in about 10 laps time or so.
Yeah, it's going to be timing of the yellow. Worst thing that could happen for him is for this race to go green. He will have to pit. And no, Trost and Nefri get together.
And Brandon Trost is riding the wall. And what happened there is it was down into turn number 3 and 4. And I think there that it's exactly a similar situation as what we had with Terry Martinson and James McClaw a little bit earlier on in this race. But 3rd caution of the day. And it's almost identical incident to what we had for our 1st caution there, Aaron.
Yeah, this is what I said pre-race, where if you get 2 cars going side by side into turn 3, maybe one, maybe none of those cars are going to come out the other side. And once again, the side-by-side in turn 3 bites.
Let's keep an eye out to see what happens now. Pit road will be open. We'll see most of these cars coming onto pit road. To give you an update on Nefriarg, he is out of the race. And for a guy who had so much promise at the start of this season, again, a great performance at Homestead once again. It's not gone the way he needed to. By the way, Josh Chin is on pit road. And he's also brought Paul Jenkins with him. Now, the strategy kind of reverses itself now. Of course, Matt Cook retakes the race lead, but there are a couple of other guys who have come in. People like Nars Anders, and most of the fields come in, and now you just got 3 or 4 guys left out again.
We're going to need a giant whiteboard to keep up. We don't have 2 strategies now. We really have 3 strategies. Because there were cars that pitted in that first stop that have pitted. So we have almost 3 different strategies going on. This is going to be very interesting to figure out who's going to win this right now.
So, okay, we are going to have a look and see who is laid out on the racetrack. Matt Cook, Tim Holgate, Ryan Murray, Eric Davis, Brian Simpson, Martin Miller, and John Porzek. They look like they stayed out, as did Mark Schutte and Tim Miller. Josh Chin was the first guy to come in. It looks as though he's going to come back around. Is Tim Miller coming onto pit road? Yes, he is. So that will give Joshua Chin 1 extra position back. Of course, Tim Miller led his first lap in 16th Street Racing competition 1 week ago at Twin Ring Motegi. So it is essentially your top 8 drivers who pitted. Then it's Josh Chin, Paul Jenkins, Niles Anders, Joe Branch, Matt Kingsbury, Christopher Demeritt, Brendan Lichtenberg, David Sockrider. They're the top 10 drivers who did come onto pit road. And as far as it goes, now it's back to almost what it was, status quo at the front, between Matt Cook and Tim Holgate and Ryan Murray. However, of course, we've lost, for the most part, Martin Miller out of that mix. And now you've got Josh Chin, who's got about 3 or 4 more gallons than the guys out front.
Yeah, as I said, this is I'm really interested to see how this plays out. I really think Joshua Chin benefited the most from this yellow. I was about to say before we had that incident that the worst thing that could happen to Chin is that we go green, he pits, and we get a yellow in the middle. There was such a gap, maybe about 10-15 laps, that if a yellow would have fallen out, he may have been 1, maybe 2 laps down, and then that would have been race over. So he really benefited now, and now he has more fuel than the cars in front of him. So, as you said, roles reversed, and I believe we're going green next time by.
We are going to go green next time by, indeed. And I'll tell you what, this would be one fascinating conversation to listen into. The argument between Nefriarg and Brandon Trost. I'll see what we can get out of that a little bit later on. However, the guys are lined up 2 wide once again. We'll talk a little bit, actually, about those incidents in a moment.
Yeah, real quick, one of the things, really unfortunate for both drivers there in that incident, both of them are on different strategies, so even though they were racing each other on the track, man, to race each other that hard really is unfortunate to knock yourselves out without being on the same strategy.
Gonna go back to green flag racing. Our 3rd caution of the day complete at the conclusion of lap number 44. Matt Cook back to the point. Tim Holgate lining up alongside him. Ryan Murray in 3rd. Here we go. Back to green flag racing. And a good jump there by the top 2 drivers. Ryan Murray is having to fall early into line. That's going to put him under pressure from Eric Davis just a little bit. Brian Simpson now going to go down to the inside of. Oh my God, Eric Davis pushing him up the racetrack just a little bit.
Joshua Chin somehow clipped the apron and saved the car. He was headed to the grass and he saved that car. Lost a bunch of spots, but he is still in this race.
We have a caution once again. Caution's breed caution. That is one of the Kingsbury's by the look of it, who is out of the race. And he was another guy who was... Oh, he came together by the look of it with a car coming into turn 1 and 2. And that looked like another one of the Panther Racing guys. The 4 car of Joe Branch there, which pushed him onto the apron. And then it just looked as though the 21 car there put out of the race.
Yeah, it looks like Joe Branch might have got just a little bit loose. I don't think Kingsbury really was going for the pass, or Branch just sort of maybe got loose on entry or got... that was interesting. I'm not really going to blame anyone for that one, really. That was just unfortunate, and Kingsbury took some damage and then clipped the curb on the back straightaway and sort of grinded it and raced over for him.
4th caution of the day, and I want to go back to the earlier caution, the 1st caution and the 3rd caution, because they're very similar. And you get that incident where you've got a guy on the inside line who's running the second groove, and a guy on the outside line thinking that the guy on the inside isn't going to run the second groove. And of course, the way that these drivers see, they can't see too much out the side of their cars. So you come into a corner, especially at a track like Phoenix, you've almost got to hope that the driver on the inside does what the driver on the outside think the driver on the inside is actually going to do.
That's a very good way to put it. It's almost, I think therefore you should know, so you're going to back out because I'm going to take the line, and if we don't, we're both out. That's pretty much how it works, and it's very confusing, especially for the spotters here, because that inside line, the outside really goes out wide, so the spotter really isn't going to know that a car's on the inside until the outside car is already turning in, and by that point in time there is no reaction time, and you're either going to get one or two cars out of the race.
So, lights are still on the pace car. 4 cautions earlier on. I said that this track, if they can get going, will have a green flag feel to it. As I say, we had that in the transfer race earlier on. It does seem to be, when we had that first run, for the most part, after 3 or 4 laps, everyone gets themselves into line, and you get passing, good racing, but it gets less intense, and people will just try and get themselves some laps done. Here, however, cautions are breeding cautions once again.
Absolutely, and another thing, last year I mentioned only 2 yellows, but I think the setups have really gone more aggressive than last year. If we can see all the drivers, as I said in the first 2 laps, there were so many cars out of control. That's what it is this time. Every restart, we could probably name 1, 2, 3 drivers that just about had their race ended. Before Kingsbury got out of the race, Josh Chin, great save getting down on the apron, so wow, we get to do it again. Why not?
Lights looking as though they're going to go out on the pace car this time by, it'll be 38 laps scored complete here at Phoenix International Raceway. Indeed, lights are out. So it'll be Cook from Holgate, from Murray, from Davis, from Simpson. Do you think this is going to be the one? Is this going to be the start of the long green flag run?
Cautions breed cautions, and that's been the norm, so I'm going to have to say no. Another thing, we have a lot of fast drivers in the back of the field now coming up, and they got to make moves. Josh Chin lost 4 spots, clipping the apron. I think Martin Miller's car is going to be okay. Let's see where he is running now, but expect him to come up if his car is still good, so no, this isn't the time.
Well, we are going to go back to green flag racing regardless, with 39 laps scored complete in this race. Let's see whether we can make this one work a little bit better. You see the pace car going to head back down towards pit road once again. Complete our 4th caution of the day. Now Cook has gone early the last couple of runs. He's going to go early by the looks of it once again here. He's not going to risk backing the field up, and the green flag back out in air. They are 2 wide. Running down in the mid-pack, almost 3 wide once again there as they come down into turn number 1. Look out, boys. Josh Chin is trying to make up for lost ground. He's running high, running low, and he looks like right now he's going to try and go down to the inside of Mark Shute as they come down into turn number 3 and 4. But I tell you what, Noah McBride is taking about 3 cars in 1 corner there.
Oh,
from the outside, that's a huge crash there.
Track is blocked.
That is the big one, and that was with Brian Simpson, Niles Anders coming out of turn number 4. And it looks as though Niles just came up the racetrack a little bit there, clipped the side of Brian Simpson, and that is the one place that they always said you don't want to have a crash. A lot of guys involved in that one. That is the big one that we always hope doesn't happen at Phoenix.
Absolutely, and it looks, I don't know if Niles came out or if Brian Simpson, I think, got to the outside, which this actually started on the back straightaway going into turn 3 as Jean Porzak got to the inside of Simpson, which they went side by side, and I think Brian realized side by side wasn't going to work, so he got out of the groove, and I don't think he ever recovered, and Niles Anders comes along and just gets clipped, and then the party started.
Indeed it did. So, 5th caution of the day, Aaron. I'm going to run out of things to talk about in a minute. Pit road is going to be open. I think some guys might want to come into pit road. Indeed they are. Matt Cook leads them in.
And so we got pit stops now, which I don't know. The way this has been going, I think I might want to stay out to be in front of everything. at this moment, which I guess everybody's pitting right now, although a lot of cars in the back's going to have damaged. I don't know how much damage Joshua Chin took in that. Looks like his rear wing might be askew. So a lot of competitive cars mid-pack are going to be damaged, and it's going to take a while to sort out who still has a car that can compete. Matt Cook might have been, his competition may have been reduced greatly there for sure.
Yeah, and he's easily the first one out there, and Holgate's going to come out second, Ryan Murray going to come out third behind him, Martin Miller fourth, and a very close battle there between John Porzik and Paul Jenkins coming out of pit road. I tell you what, it was by a hair that Paul Jenkins was able to get that from John Porzik. Then Eric Davis, Neil McBride, Mark Schaefer, Brandon Lichtenberg, Christopher Demerick, Dave Jinks, Terry Mattinson, Kerry Bettenhausen, Justin Wolverine, and Joe Branch, Anthony Koenig, David Sockrider, Vic Cordell, Josh Chim. Everyone came onto pit road pretty much there.
Pretty much, and I'm trying to compile a list of everybody that was involved in that accident. Quite a few cars. At least 6 cars were involved there.
Really? Why did he get DQ'd?
Yeah, one guy did stay out. That was Tim Miller, so he leads another lap in the 16 Street Racing League. I'll be intrigued to see he might just come onto pit road this time by, but by my watch, we're going to get the 2 to go this time by, so Tim Miller might have to restart this from essentially the inside row number 1.
And that's going to be an interesting dynamic there. New driver up front, which that will put Cook on the outside. But today we've had today really it's been kind of skewed, because typically I said P2 gets a horrible start, but today the outside's been having a wonderful start on every start or restart.
Indeed, they have, yeah, and don't forget, from 3 ovals in a row, we go to a road course in 1 week's time. It is the 16th Street Racing League Indy Grand Prix of Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park, as the International Light Technologies Road Course Championship kicks it back into high gear. We are indeed going to go back to 1 to go this time by Tim Miller. I think he's decided, you know what, the incidents have been happening at the mid part of the field. I'm going to stay ahead of it for a while.
A great strategy. That's what I would do. As you said, I mean, you almost called it with if you get an incident on the front straightaway, there is nowhere to go, and many drivers found that out, and that's really going to be a hit for Josh Chin's championship. Had that misstep at Sebring, but good showing here today. Might have changed that, but there was nothing he could do along with many of the other drivers.
Indeed, so we're going to go back to green flag racing this time by pace car working itself through turn number 3 and 4. Hey Aaron, only 100 laps to go.
Only 100 laps to go, and we still have, well, is this the restart, Will? Is this the restart? The magic number is 2. And
Tim Miller, this is going to be interesting. He's bringing his car onto pit road here. Now, I'm not sure what this is going to do for the field, but this could be... green flag is back out. Tim Miller has brought that car on pit road. I wouldn't be surprised if someone might have got a black flag there because of it. Now, it's really stacked the field up as well, as they are 2-3 wide into turn number 1 and 2 once again. But what happened there, Holgate got the jump on Matt Cook because of the fact that essentially as soon as Miller came into pit road, Holgate was the car on the inside of row number 1. Now, I am intrigued to see whether anyone got a black flag through that, but Martin Miller has now McBride down to the inside of him, and Martin Miller really is struggling there. 3 wide into the dogleg there. I'll tell you what, one guy who did lose out a little bit, Ryan Murray, but John Porzik has gained quite a lot of bit, and here comes Matt Cook. He's going to look down to the inside of Tim Holgate down into turn number 1. This is going to be the battle for the race lead, and I tell you what, Holgate just lets him go.
That is the absolute best thing to do there. You do not want to be on the outside side-by-side into turn 1. You really don't want to be on the outside side-by-side at all. If a car gets on the inside, you really got to give it to him here. Maybe last 2 laps you're going to force the issue, but 100 laps to go, there's already been enough carnage. He's going to fall in behind, and let's see if he can stay in the draft and maybe save a little bit of fuel here.
Indeed. So, Holgate is dropping back by about 2 tenths per second a lap. I tell you what, running in the 3rd position, we haven't talked about him at all. Now McBride, he qualified for this race in the 18th position, now running in 3rd. And he is got John Porzik all over the rear of him, however, in the Banshee Autosport car. And here comes Porzik down to the inside, and he will just about be able to hold it on that bottom lane. And they'll come down the dogleg once again. And it looks as though McBride will still have the outside line down into turn number 3 and 4. But Ryan Murray, he's on the inside as well now. So you've got, as soon as you're on that outside line in traffic, you will sometimes get pinned there. But Murray got out the gas.
McBride
doing the cut and done almost contact.
Oh, wow, I'm sure both of those drivers held their breath there. I cannot believe they came out the other side. Can't believe it.
I tell you what, that did back the field up a little bit as well. You got Brandon Litchberg there as well, but here comes Ryan Murray. He's now going to look down to the inside into turn number 1 of now McBride, and he is not going to be able to complete the pass just yet. He just gets a little bit of a tap on the apron, but he does complete that pass out of turn number 2.
And now Lichtenberg's going to go to the inside, and this is where when you get hung up on the outside, but on the outside really works in 3 and 4. Let's see if he can get the run off the corner. If McBride can't get to the inside, he may lose another spot. Let's see if Martin Miller's going to be close enough to get to the inside here out of 2.
He is going to be indeed, in fact, Miller might make short work of him, as he is already down to the inside as they come down into 3 and 4. They're going to be 2 wide, 2 deep, because Lichtenberg down on the inside of Ryan Murray, and he was not able to complete the pass there. He got a slow car
up high. They got a slow car. That's Mark Shoot.
Yeah, and I tell you what, you do not want to be 3 wide again into turn number 1 because of that. And now McBride, he completely missed his entry point because of it. You do not want to have slow cars running at this racetrack at all.
No, we'll see if race control will do something. He is right now 3 seconds off the pace, and this is one track. The closure rate here is so fast that lots of heads-up driving that nobody got caught up there.
So things have settled down once again. I tell you what, however, out front, Matt Cook has not been able to pull away as much as he would have wanted from Tim Holgate.
Holgate really just stalking right now. Gap really not gaining, really not dropping.
Well, we've got a replay coming up on your screen momentarily, and they are still battling all over the place on the racetrack. But they are in that battle for the race lead. It does look as though that we're getting to that stage of the race, and we did see this a couple of races ago as well at Richmond, that after about 5 or 6 laps of a run, Matt Cook can start stretching his legs, and the car of Tim Holgate wasn't able to keep up at that point.
And that's one of the different things as they do pass Tim Miller, who it looks like his car is not handling as well at the moment. I guess he just got out of the way to let Holgate and Cook by. But Cook, I don't know. He is quickly becoming very good at making adjustments throughout the race. Other drivers, you know, staying ahead of the car, making those minor in-car adjustments. Cook seems to just be consistent throughout the entire run. Some drivers are going to be quicker later, some earlier, but Cook right now is the all-around package at being able to be fast at the start and at the end.
Indeed, yes, and let's not forget that these cars have an anti-roll bar both front and rear on the weight checker that they can use as well. And at a track like this, you really want to make use of those in-car tools just to ensure that you can keep the balance of your race car. And you talked about this early on in the broadcast. You are on a knife edge the entire race on this racetrack, Kim. If you just get a little bit too tight in turn number 1, then that outside wall just really comes up towards you, and without you even knowing, you can take exactly the same line, exactly the same speed through the corner. That car might just get a little bit too tight, be it in traffic, being the tyres wearing off, be it the balance of the car changing over the course of a fuel run. You're hitting that outside safety barrier, it is game over.
And on the other hand, you got to stay ahead of it in turns 1 and 2. But if you do loosen that car up, turns 3 and 4 are flatter. Getting that just a little bit of oversteer or turning just a little bit too much, you can clip the apron there and lose the rear. So you're really battling 2 battles.
Indeed, and we're just over half race, coming up at about 15-20 laps or so. We're now on that stage of the race. Like, these guys are now settled down, and we now get to know what these cars are actually doing. And I tell you what, it's interesting that Porzak has been able to pull away from Ryan Murray now. And now McBride, he is still trying to battle inside the top 10. He's just fallen out of the top 10, however. And that shows you some guys are very good on starts and restarts. I think McBride's car is just absolutely perfect. And if we get a short run to the line, I think he will really be in the picture to make a lot of positions. However, as the run progresses, it does look as though he is falling back a little bit.
He is falling back, and right now, you did mention that Porzak was pulling away from Murray. 2 of the past 3 laps, John Porzak has been the fastest car on the racetrack. So,
wow.
I don't know if he can get up, maybe one more yellow, which right now that seems to be as Joshua Chin is pitting. I don't think that car is handling all that well after the impact. But John Porzak right now, I think he's going to be, we'll be hearing his name contending for the win by the time this one's over.
So, yeah, and I think Porzak, just having a look at the lap times, by the way. Last time by, John Porzak was just a little bit faster that time, actually, than Matt Cook. He is the fastest guy on the racetrack right now in that number 27 car, and he is starting to close it up with the guys out front. And this is the sort of thing, John Porzak has had some very good performances in 16th Street Racing League competition. However, he's not yet made it to the top step of the podium. Lap, he is just 1/1000th of a second quicker than Matt Cook. Let's not forget, however, these top 3 cars, none of them are running in the draft right now. The same way with Ryan Murray in 4th position, Brandon Lichtenberg, actually Lichtenberg is in the draft of Ryan Murray for the time being, but the top 4 drivers not running in the draft at all. This is pure pace that we're seeing from them right now, as that time Porzak did lose about 1/2 of a second. He just got a little bit high in turn 1 and 2, and that was him losing out just a tiny bit. Between Holgate and Cook, Cook is pulling away from Holgate at the rate of about 1/10 of a second a lap. So, first of all, Porzak's going to have to close up to the rear and get past Tim Holgate. But we are going to check in on Christopher Demerit, because they are 2, 3, almost 4 wide there. Caution out. 6th caution of the day. And that was done in turn 3 and 4. Now McBride, his day has gone from bad to worse. He is out of the race. And that was an incident there with one of the Bettenhausens, Kerry Bettenhausen, in the HP car, down in turn 3 and 4. And that one, you have to say, was all on Now McBride, because he did come all the way down and pinch Bettenhausen down into the inside line. And there was nothing else really that Bettenhausen could do.
Yeah, now McBride had... That's the thing I mentioned. You can either race a guy hard and risk that, or as we saw Holgate when Cook made the pass, Holgate just let him go. Sometimes that's what you got to do, and if McBride may have just lifted just a hair there, he'd still be in this race, but race over. One thing I want to mention, the reason why we didn't mention John Porzak until just recently, he qualified 27th. He was the slowest car that had a qualifying time, so that's why it's taken him so long. So that's an amazing drive right now with all the carnage we've had to go from 27th to be running P3.
Everyone pretty much is on pit road here, and let's see, does anyone really stay out? Josh Chin does stay out, but I think that's just to get himself back onto the lead lap. Indeed, he'll get 1 lap back as he's now scored 4 laps down. So the battle here is going to be between Matt Cook, Tim Holgate, John Porzak. Now Holgate is absolutely sublime on pitting in, and let's see whether he can get a good run out the pit road once again. He gets a little bit of a bump actually, and that is going to be the difference maker. It was close though.
Oh, it was close. If the cones would have been maybe another 10-15 feet down, I think Holgate would have had it, but that's the advantage of being the pole sitter and having the first pit box.
So it is going to be as they come in, it's the same way they come out. And we do have a couple of cars who say who did stay out, but that is because of the fact that they are scored laps down. Mark Schutte, Tim Miller, and Joshua Chin. Now, I'm expecting them all to come back onto pit road this time by. Josh Chin actually is going to try and get himself a lap back. That's interesting.
Yeah, he just pitted maybe about 5 laps before that yellow, so for him, really no reason to stay out. Get a lap back, which, you know, the way the attrition is, maybe in the end that might gain him 1 or 2 more spots, so championship points-wise, that could pay off. 1 extra lap can do that.
And of course, for Josh Chin, he's going to want to get as many points as he can now. Next week, we go to a road course where, you know, he had bad luck at the one road course we've had this season, back at Sebring, and he's going to want to have a good finish there. And his season's been up and down. He's showing pure speed at every single racetrack we've been to. Luck has just not been on his side, however.
Yep, maybe today that started when he didn't really... He was tied with Matt Cook for the fastest practice time, and in qualifying, his first lap really touched the apron and really slowed him down. So he qualified in the middle front of the field, which that's really the eye of the storm where the trouble happens. And another thing we could look at, that split strategy early, maybe that wasn't the right strategy because that didn't put him back down, and when we had the track blocking accident, he was right there to greet it.
So, Josh Shear and Mark Sheet are both going to get themselves the wave around. It's going to be lined up once again like this. Matt Cook, Tim Holgate, row number 1. Row number 2, John Porzik and Brandon Lichtenberg. Row 3, Ryan Murray, Martin Miller. Row 4, Christopher Demerit, Mark Schaefer. Row 5, Eric Davis and Paul Jenkins. Tell you what, Brandon Lichtenberg, he qualified this race in 9th, running in the 4th position. Good showing there by the number 12 car.
Oh, very strong, and he's been racing people hard, but giving people room. That's one thing here. If you're in the middle of the pack, it's really not about driving people to the apron. You really got to give and take here, and as we've seen, if you don't do that, you're going to be out of the race. So strong showing, and let's see if Porzak can have anything for the front 2 here as we're about to go green, and 2 laps. That's a magic number. We got to get 2 laps in to really get this race to go. That's the danger zone with the cold tires.
Pace car in, back to green flag racing here, and it's not going to be a good start at all there for Porzak. So what that's actually going to do is allow Lichtenberg to come to his outside to work himself back down into turn number 1. And you see also Ryan Murray there trying to look down to the inside, but it was a huge wiggle by Porzak down into that first corner. So it is going to be Tim Holgate on the rear and Matt Cook once again. Porzak a little bit further back. I tell you what, Holgate did get an incredible run there through turn number 3 and 4. So he's going to be right on the rear of Cook as they come down into 1 and 2 once again. Now, if Holgate can get a good run through here, he's not quite close enough. He might have been able to have a look down to the inside of 3 and 4. He wasn't close enough to do so, but I tell you what, Porzak has settled down, been able to eke out about 5 car lengths over Brandon Lichtenberg. And Ryan Murray all over the rear of that 12 car as they come out of 3 and 4. Murray going to look down to the inside, and he's going to get the pass completed in turn number 1. No, he's not, and he just touches the apron. He'll get away with it, though.
He'll get away with it, and just before we had that last yellow, I was about to draw our attention to these 4 cars. I don't know if I've ever seen 4 cars fight so hard. This has been an amazing battle, and they're almost going to be 3 wide on the exit there as Murray's now going to fight back. Or actually, sorry, Lichtenberg's going to fight back on the outside, and can he do the crossover up at 2?
No.
Not that time.
But Christopher Demerit is able to sneak past there as well, and Mark Schaefer isn't too far back either. So 4 cars from 5th position down to 8th on the racetrack, very closely matched. And Martin Miller actually, he's getting himself back into this. Is that number 26 car, Martin Miller? But you've got Mark Schaefer looking down to the inside of Brendan Lichtenberg, and it's very close. He's running all the way there on the white line. But out front, Porzak is in draft range now of both Holgate and Matt Cook. And Ryan Murray has been dropped, so Ryan Murray's really in no man's land. And Christopher Demerit is still hard on his tail in that battle for 4th position.
Right now, 3-car battle up front. Really got 2 packs here. This is the way it was last time as Porzak was trying to reel in the front 2. And that second group has settled down. And maybe we will finally get that green flag feel.
Indeed, we are now into the second half of this race, working ourselves on lap 80 of 145. The most cautions in a 16-street race this season we have had in this race so far here today. And we have, to say, just past half race distance. But out front, Holgate this time is all over the rear and Matt Cook, the 66 versus the 6 car. And I tell you what, that Bluetooth car of Tim Holgate is looking very good all of a sudden.
It's looking very good, but remember, you mentioned he is usually fast at the start of the run. As the run progresses, he seems to fall off, and it was later in the run that Porzak really started to close in, so this is the first time we're truly going to see everybody's on the same strategy. So this is the first time we are really going to see who has what.
Indeed. Let's have a look a little bit further down through the field very quickly, because we've got ourselves some interesting packs in the middle part of it as well. We still got ourselves 17 cars scored on the lead lap from the 30 cars that started this race. Dave Jenks having a battle right now of Anthony Kernick and also Vic Coldrell. They're battling for 13, 14, 15 positions on the racetrack, and they keep on swapping between themselves. David Stockride and Kerry Bettenhausen, they are also battling closely for position, for 11th position on the racetrack. But that middle pack, you've got Christopher Demerit just managed to get himself past Ryan Murray there.
Yeah, made the pass, which I really thought Ryan Murray's car was going to maybe be able to break away, but that's not the case, as now Demerit runs in the 4th spot, and Murray, in this pack, it's been, oh, Murray, I think he
did hit the wall. He did just hit the wall, and I think that did muscle tweak something a little bit on the suspension. He's going to run high in 3 and 4. That is going to allow Lichtenberg to come down to the inside of him, and you can tell definitely there that car is not handling the way it used to.
And all the drivers behind probably saw him hit the wall, and they're holding their breath, hoping that that suspension stays together. Oh, that's what I'm talking about right there. It gets on the curb. What a save.
He saves it, and he's going to get sideways in 3 and 4. I tell you what, he's going to spin that car. He's going to keep it on there. I tell you what, a good save again.
Oh my, that's going to be one of the best continuous saves I think I've seen. Wow.
And that all started, say, when he hit the wall. You can tell he clearly tried to then use some of the in-car tools, because he was fine for a corner or so. But then car getting tight in him, he must have tried to change something on that race car. You see, he's still getting a little bit loose from corner exit. And ahead of them, what that did is it really stacked up the field quite a bit as well. Because what you have now is that third pack closing up on the second pack, which is being led by Paul Jenkins. And the cars behind him are slowly winning in that middle pack. And things getting very racy up here as Christopher Demerit and Brandon Lichtenberg, they'll continue to battle for 4th and 5th positions on the racetrack. Top 3 drivers still separated by less, and I tell you what, Christopher Demerit there, did he just hit the wall out of turn number 2, because he got himself an awful big wiggle there out of the second corner. I think he did just missed it.
That car is now ill handling. I don't know if he might have hit the wall, or I don't know if the handling's falling away, but he is. I don't know how he's still running. That car, that last lap was out of control, and yet somehow he is still in 4th spot. It seems whoever's running in that 4th spot really has been having issues today, no matter who's been running in it.
Yeah, and let's see whether Lichtenberg will try and make that move on Christopher Demerit. They are close, about a car length and a half between them, so come back down into turn number 1, working ourselves on lap number 90. And Holgate is starting to fall back now. That last lap, 21.201 for Holgate. 21.172 for Cook, and John Porzek, he's set one of his fastest laps of the race, 21.185 for him. So they are still close together. I think Porzek does need to get himself past Holgate though, if he's going to have any chance of going for this win.
Yes, he is, and this is the point in time last time where Porzak was the fastest. And on the same hand though, if he has 2 cars in front of him drafting, if you're within half a second, 1 second of the leader, you can make that up on a green flag pit stop. You really can. A lot of drivers were practicing, who has Lichtenberg very close on Demerit there. Speaking of green flag pit stops, the way they're running, I don't know if we'll get to that point, but should we? A lot of drivers practiced it in practice, and a lot of drivers failed, so keep watching for that if we get there.
Yeah, and as I said earlier on in this broadcast as well, if you get green flag pit stops, the second thing you've got to worry about is then what happens when the car comes back onto the racetrack. You come right back into the racing groove.
Right back into the groove, and there's we're going to go side by side for 4th place for now. But there's also, as you get from the flat to the banking, if you apply the power wrong, again, you're going to spin. So lots of issues there. Side by side for 4th place. Good battle.
They are, yeah. And I tell you what, it does look as though that battle for 4th, Lichtenberg on the inside, Demerit on the outside, that is going to go all race long. Demerit on the outside, that car doesn't handle better. And now Schaefer's down on the inside, so they come down into turn number 1 and 2. Watch out, and where did Mark Schaefer come from? He passes Christopher Demerit with ease, and now Martin Miller comes past as well. And we saw this in Now McBride earlier. You have to run the outside line for a couple of laps. It almost becomes a bit like Texas syndrome, when you just have to wait until you find a place to slot back in.
Yes, Texas syndrome. Absolutely right. Once you get on the outside, you just sort of bleed ground each turn. You can sort of stay side by side, but you're going to lose about half to 3/4 of a car length every corner, and that's just going to keep going on until you get to the back of the train, and then you got to work your way back up.
Right, I'm just going to give you guys a heads up very quickly because of the fact we're working ourselves on lap number 97.
Oh,
Chase turned around. Oh my God, look at that. And also Martin Miller into the wall. And that is going to be caution.
We stay green.
No, we stay green.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Now we're green. Now we are green. And I tell you, was that a secondary incident there?
Yes, it was. It was a secondary incident. Mark Schaefer was doing about 100. And then we had Anthony Carnage, who had no idea what was going on in front of him. Just nowhere to go.
And he just hit into the rear of David Sockrider, actually. And then he said Schaefer's turn around again. That brought the caution out. And I was just about to say, we are incredibly close to everyone being able to go to the end of this race if they pitted now. Let's say a fuel window is somewhere between 40 and 45 laps. Now in the transfer race, the longest that we saw was 43 laps, but that race was entirely green. This race goes to back to green flag racing this time. They're either going to need to have 2 cautions, or guys are going to have to save fuel, or they're going to have to make a splash and dash.
How about this, Will? How about if you're mid-pack, coming in on the 1 to green, topping off? Can you do it?
You can do it, and that will put you right to the rear of the field, but that and a little bit of saving means that you'll be good to go. Of course, the disadvantage is, we know that this race has been littered with cautions. Therefore, if it doesn't go green to the end, then you're going to have to find a way of moving yourself through the pack. So it's one of those things that someone who's got more to gain than they have to lose, some people that might not be in the top 5, top 10 in the championship right now, something they might think about trying. I'm having a look actually, someone like Paul Jenkins in that 23 car, who's right now on the bubble. The way it is right now, they're going to be guaranteed entry into the next race, and I know that Paul just wants to get himself into the top 25. If I was him, maybe if I was David Sockrider, who's got that little bit of damage, or perhaps Bettenhausen, Cordrell, Jinx, I would consider coming back in.
Oh, I would absolutely. What better way? If you're in the anybody, I would say 10th on back. We only have, I think we're only going to have about 12, 13 cars on the lead lap, and I don't think all those cars are going to be race speed. So I think you got to do it. We absolutely got to do it. If it's 43 laps, you pick. I think if you be conservative, you'll run out coming to the checkered, and what an interview that would be, interviewing a race winner that can sneak out a win that way.
Only question is, with the lap cars and the fact we've still got a number of people in, is it worth trying overall if you're anyone in the top 5?
At top 5, no. There's been so many yellows that if you're in the top 5, if we do get a bunch of yellows, you might be able to make it anyway. If we get 4 yellows, you're going to be able to make it anyway. So if you're in the top 5, no, you got to play it out. But if you're anywhere 7th, 8th on back, why not try it? Most you're going to lose right now is maybe 5, 6 spots, and if your car's fast, you might be able to get those back anyway.
No one is... Oh, yes, we have. We've got Terry Mattinson. He's going to come in. So Mattinson is going to come in, and he is scored on the lead lap. We have also Ryan Murray coming in. So 2 guys on the lead lap are going to roll the dice, and they're going to try and get themselves a fuel to go to the end. So we're going to have Cook from Lichtenberg, Holgate from Porzek, Demerit from Davis. They're your top 3 rows. Of course, there is one issue for those guys who have just pitted. They will fall in behind the lapped cars.
Behind the lap cars, and there are a lot of wounded cars out there, so a lot of bullets to avoid on this restart. We've had a lot of carnage, a lot of cars not handling properly, so they're going to have to be careful of that, but at the same time, they're going to be saving fuel. They really don't need to force the issue.
And you can save a lot of fuel here pretty easily at Phoenix. So explain how after you go back to green flag racing, because that pace car's going to make that journey back down on towards pit road. Tell you what, Lichtenberg up into the 2nd position, and he's going to get himself a moderately good restart. No, he won't. Holgate's going to go straight down to the inside of him. The guy who loses out once again on the restart is John Porzek, and he's falling down into that 4th position. Christopher Demerit is a little bit sideways, but here comes Porzek now down to the inside of and Brandon Lichtenberg through turn number 3 and 4 they go. Slip sliding away, and Porzek moves himself back up into 3rd, and Demerit, you can say he's going to try and make that run on Lichtenberg as well. Down to the inside he comes, and he's going to be able to make the pass. I don't know if he can complete the pass. Close there, and they hold on.
We just about had a yellow flag, which would have made the fuel strategy a little bit more interesting there. Very close to merit, and I think we're about to have maybe in another lap. I think we're going to have a repeat of that same move in turn 1, maybe next lap.
Yeah, and of course, the way things are going to be, the tyres will be warmed up, so these guys will be able to do it a little bit better for those of you who are just joining us, working ourselves on lap number 104 of 145 here at Phoenix International Raceway. Now, for these first 2-3 laps of a fuel run, you see the cars all over the place, having to use a lot of negative weight jacket and just finding a way of nursing that car around the racetrack. But Demerit, he's now not been able to get himself past Lichtenberg, and Lichtenberg has had a good car. Let's not forget about that. And these two are battling for 4th and 5th positions in this race. They do not want to throw that one away.
Oh, absolutely. We've seen so many drivers throw it away, and we're going to go side by side into turn 1. This time I think Lichtenberg is going to give a little bit more room as Demerit's car really slides on entry, and Lichtenberg may be able to maintain that spot. Yes, he is.
Yeah, he is, and he's going to take that outside line. There we are, and he's going to slot back in, and he remains in that 4th position in that number 12 car. So Demerit has got a fast race car. It does look to be, though, that car is very, very unstable at certain parts of the fuel run.
No, his car really does not like turning in early. He turns in, and that front just slides into the corner. And if I'm Lichtenberg, this is, as a driver, very aggravating, because maybe Lichtenberg has a faster car, maybe Demerit's in the draft, but Demerit's car is unstable. And Lichtenberg's in a no-win situation. He wants to maintain that 4th spot, but he really can't just let Demerit go because Demerit's car really unstable. You don't want that car in front of you. So for Lichtenberg, there's really nothing he can do right now as Demerit's going to go back on the inside. Not this time.
And let's keep an eye out. Let's not forget on those 2 drivers who are trying to play the fuel game, Terry Mattinson and Ryan Murray. Now, out of these 2 drivers, Terry Mattinson is ahead, and he's also not that far away from Dave Jinks. Now, I think if they get up to the likes of Dave Jinks, Vic Cordial, Kerry Bettenhausen, they have clearly had the speed to do so in this race. I think then they'll be in a situation they can really just, let that car run and save a little bit more fuel. Now, as I was saying, Phoenix is one of those tracks where it can be a lot easier to save fuel if you have a good car to start with, as both Mattinson and Murray have had in this race, because all you do, you just coast it through turn 3 and 4, get out the gas a tiny bit early into turn 1, get a little bit more gentle onto the power, as ahead of them you've got yourself Kerry Bettenhausen losing position there to Vic Cordial, and these sides are battling now for what is essentially 8th and 9th positions on the racetrack, but Mattinson and Murray, I think they're potentially in the catbird seat.
Yeah, they're running about 0.3 of a second, maybe 2-3 of a second slower than the leader. And I think what they're really going to do is try to get up and get some draft. That also is really going to help. But right now, I think the move of the race, speaking of Vic Caudle, when we had that track blocking incident, he was running towards the rear of the field. He came off of turn 4 and he just stopped. He let everything sort itself out, and that was a good move, not getting caught up in anything, and now running a very strong 8th place.
But tell you what, Brendan Lichtenberg and Eric Davis, they've been battling hard the last couple of laps, and Lichtenberg has been pretty much involved in every single race there has been to have a race in this race here today. But it does look as though for the time being Eric Davis has got the better of it. Out front, however, once again, John Paul's all over the rear of Tim Holgate, and Holgate just starting to fall back a little bit from Matt Cook.
Yep, falling back, and up front, really, for these guys now, they're going to be all out. There really is not field conservation. If we get a couple yellows, which maybe here's the thing, if we do get 2-3 yellows, they might be able to make it. So poor Zach, I don't know if he would really want to try anything on Holgate right now, because this could come down to pit stops, and if he can save some fuel and we get a yellow and he can save just enough, he might be able to roll the dice.
Indeed, and I tell you what, with less than 30 laps to go in this race, we are getting to, the point that if you are going to make a move, now's a good time to think about doing so. And Paulzek is very close behind Tim Holgate. And I think if you're going to make that move, make it now. Make it as quick as possible, then show your hand early. And then if Holgate thinks, I can't respond to that, then that is going to be perfectly fine. I tell you what, there are some slow cars. Joshua Chin, who's all over the place, to say he's just trying to hold on for dear life right now. Mark Shooter bringing his car back onto the racetrack as well. Make sure you hold it in that line when you come back out of pit road. But Joshua Chin, he is well off the pace right now. And this would actually hold the leaders up a little bit here when they come down into turn number 1 and 2 again. Matt Cook down to the inside. He's going to put Josh Chin another lap down. Holgate's going to be lucky here. He won't get him until out of turn number 2, and that is close.
Very close. That would have been a very, very aggravating way to have your race ended there, but everybody's playing this right way, and what that allows is Matt Cook now has built up quite a margin, perhaps the largest lead we've seen in about 40-50 laps, 0.6 of a second.
Indeed, yeah, and I tell you what, I'm having a look at Josh Chin, because his lap times haven't been ridiculously slow. I think the fact is that with that damage, he's just been eating up those tyres too much, and he's having to pit a lot sooner than other guys are doing on the racetrack. And let's not forget, didn't he stay out on one of those previous batches of cautions as well to try and get himself some laps back?
That is correct. He was, and speaking of moves, we almost had a move for second place. Porzak now is pushing the issue. But yes, Chin did stay out, went from 4 laps to 3 laps down. Now he's back down to 4 laps.
Indeed, and that might be 5 laps before too long before the end of this race. I tell you what, Porzak, he gets a very good run through turn number 1 and 2, but then it does look like Holgate takes the defensive line into the dogleg, and then into 3 and 4, they are a little bit of a roles reverse as Porzak's going to try and run it all the way down there. Now he'll get that chance, just potentially not quite close enough, but Holgate is going to leave half a lane open for Porzak there. They're going to remain side by side out of turn number 1, but Porzak couldn't hold it on that inside line. It's not the first time this season we've seen Porzak struggle with that car on the inside line of the racetrack.
And if I'm either of these drivers, they have got to sort this out. These drivers are going to have to pit again. And right now, Matt Cook is just eating up time, getting away. And if you're Holgate, if you know Porzak's faster, maybe you let him go and draft up. Either way, if these two drivers continue to fight, Matt Cook's going to have a lot of time to play with when he makes this pit stop.
Oh yeah, gap is now up to over 1 second on the racetrack. In fact, it's 1.1 seconds right now. And we have got to keep an eye out. Let's not forget, 20 laps to go. These guys will be at half tanks right now. And this naturally was where Tim Holgate was losing out to John Porzak. And John Porzak, this was the stage of the race where he was faster than anyone on the racetrack. But now he's stuck behind a car and he just can't seem to find a way past him yet.
And passing, he might have the same problem that Christopher Demerit has in not being able to cut down in turn 1. And the last thing you really want to do is go side by side in turn 3. We have not seen that work all that often today. Porzak, I think, is faster, but how many times? It's the old cliche. It's one thing to catch him. It's one thing to be faster. It's another thing to actually get around him. And right now, Porzak really struggling on doing that.
Indeed so, yeah, and they say now less than 20 laps left in this race. Next week, of course, we head over to Barber Motorsports Park for the 16th Street Racing League Indy Grand Prix of Alabama as the International Light Technologies Road Course Championship heads it back into high gear. Tell you what, actually, Matt Cook took a very high apex through turn number 1 and 2 there. Behind, to give you an update on the guys who pitted on that one to go, Ryan Murray is past Terry Mattinson. Does look as though Mattinson is deliberately going slowly now to get as much fuel as possible. So, and at the same time, however, Murray is in the draft of Kerry Bettenhausen, and they're doing roughly the same lap times, and does look as though that Ryan Murray does not want to have anything to do with passing Kerry Bettenhausen or Dave Jinks, because he clearly does have the speed to do so if he wanted to.
Oh, if what's better than a one-car draft? Having 2 cars in front of you. So he is not gonna. He's not going to risk a pass right now. He has played his hand, and there's only one thing he wants to see, this race to go green all the end and have just 1 or 2 drops of fuel coming off of turn 4, coming to the flag to get him there.
Christopher Merritt comes on pit road, so he is the first of the drivers to blink in that 144 Velociraptor car. So he is now going to fall at least 1 lap down in this race, perhaps 2, depending on the way that it all falls out. Out front, gap is up to 1.36 seconds in that battle for the race lead.
Actually, Demerit actually conked the wall on lap 128 coming off of turn 2, so that's an unscheduled pit stop there, damaged his car, so his race may be over.
Yeah, it's a long pit stop for him. He is still sat on pit road, so he might be done for the day here. I was just about to say for Porzak, he's still not been able to find a way past, as the replay for the Demerit hit is up now on your screen, and we're now getting to that state of pit stops, and you want to be in that situation again where you can eke out any advantage possible on the pit stop. So one thing that you can't do to get an advantage is come in right behind someone, because you can only go as fast as they come onto pit road.
Yep, so either you want to be 1 lap sooner or 1 lap later. You really, some tracks you want a dance partner, not here. Best position though, Matt Cook, this is a tricky entry. You don't want a car behind you. If you're going to pit, you don't want that car behind you because it is very difficult to get down on the flat. It's very easy. It's much easier to not have a car behind you because you can really arc it in a lot better and not have to worry about that. So that's another factor that Holgate and Porzak are going to have to work out.
Joe Branch on pit road, so I think he is making a scheduled stop now. We are into that window that if guys are going to make stops, then they are in a window to do so. So Joe Branch in that number 4 car is on pit road. Now, if you were John Porzak sat right behind Tim Holgate, would you come on 1 lap earlier just to find a way of getting that advantage?
Oh, absolutely. As long as we've run, I doubt we can get the yellow laps for these guys to make it to the end. So you got to go a lap early. If you want to take the gamble and have a chance to win this, which I don't know, that 1.3, 1.4 second lead, that's going to be a big margin. You'd have to have the pit stop of a lifetime, and Matt Cook would have to make a bobble. But when you have 1.4 seconds, a bobble really isn't going to happen. So really, it's a battle for second, and what's the best way Porzak's going to get around him? I think it's going to have to be in the pits.
Demerit is back onto pit road. Obviously, what happened with that race car has not been fixed, so he's going to bring that car back on and try and get himself some more race repairs. To that number 144 Team Velociraptor car, the 444 car of Justin Wolverine, looking as though he's going to make a pit stop this time. Maybe not. However, Matt Cook, we've got word that Matt Cook might be coming onto pit road in the next lap or so. Tim Miller as well. Looking as though he might come onto pit road in the next lap or so. And these cars are running very high on the racetrack right now. Matt Cook, he's not coming on pit road just yet, working ourselves. Less than 10 laps to go on lap number 138. And Matt Cook stays out for another lap as Mark Shute brings his car onto pit road. Now, we've got to run through your top 10. Cook from Holgate, from Porzak, from Davis, from Lichtenberg, from Jenkins, from Cordell, from Dave Jinks, Kerry Bettenhausen, Ryan Murray. And now, Terry Tinton, he has fallen back 5 seconds from the rear of Ryan Murray in the last 20 laps or so. It could be.
Sorry, I think Murray realized he can't make it. I think Mattinson is going to stick with this strategy because they were much closer to this, and Mattinson's almost a second off where he was. So I think he's going to stick with this game plan. I think Murray might have thought, okay, it's not going to work. I need to go fast now.
Well, of course, let's not forget that there's 2 things here. If the caution comes out after everyone pits, coast at home, put that clutch in and hope for hell. Or the second thing is, you don't need to be running out necessarily out of turn 3 and 4. If you can slam that clutch in, you might be able to eke it out to come home, especially if you run it down on the flat. We are waiting for Cook. Cook comes onto pit road with 4 laps left to go at the line. Tim Holgate stays out. He looks like he's going to come in. John Porzak is on pit road, so he does the early stop. This might leapfrog him ahead of Tim Holgate, but you can tell already he is nowhere near close enough to Matt Cook to be able to take out any form of advantage. He's not going to take any fuel, is John Porzak, as Holgate is going to come in this time by. Pit road, an incredibly busy place here. What a way to end the 5th round of the 16th Street Racing League season. And I think that Matt Cook is easily going to come out ahead of Porzak there. Porzak's going to have the momentum coming back onto the racetrack. Holgate is on pit road. Brendan Lichtenberg is currently classified as your race leader, and he will come out for the time being just ahead. And I think Lichtenberg, is he coming in this time by? Lichtenberg, surely he's got to be coming in this next lap. But Tim Holgate, I say, he is having a long stop there. Something must have happened to Tim Holgate. He's been sat for an absolute age. I think he got himself a speeding penalty. That might be a huge difference maker, as Brendan Lichtenberg is going to come onto pit road this time by. Working ourselves on lap number 144. 144 it will be for your race leader. It's all messed up with timing and scoring now. Ryan Murray did have to come in.
Mattinson and Murray couldn't do it.
So it was a last minute thing there, and it is all changed on the last couple of laps or so. But Matt Cook is going to take the white flag this time by. So Matt Cook comes down. 1 mile left to go for Matt Cook in the 66 car. As you see, cars are still coming in and out of pit road. Timing and scoring will update itself at the line. But Ryan Murray is going to come out behind your race leader. Matt Cook down into turn number 3 and 4. We know that he has got this race in the bag. Matt Cook takes victory, his second of the season in the 66 LX racing car. Who comes home in second? That's John Porzuk, 1.75 seconds further back. Waiting for who comes home in third position, and that is Eric Davis in the 65 car, Paul Jenkins in fourth, and Vic Cordial comes home in the fifth position.
What a run, and Lichtenberg, it's not very often you have a pass on the final lap because the leader is in the pits. Demerit took the white flag. He was the first car to take the white flag, but he was, I think, almost coasting down pit road. So we had a pass on the last lap, but not very often it's because the leader's in the pits.
Well, that was entertaining.
To say the least.
And, I don't know, I think for Terry Martinson, he was pushing too hard at the start of that run.
Yes, he was.
And the same for Ryan Murray. I think they needed to have committed harder earlier.
Yeah, Lichtenberg made it to the white flag, and he was running up front. So I don't know, maybe that was part of the draft, but yeah, you can't play two strategies. You got to do one or the other. And I don't know, maybe they would have had to have gone so slow that maybe that wouldn't have worked out, but I would have taken the gamble. I would have gone full on for it.
Right then, let's have a run through your final race results. Matt Cook comes home in a time of 1 hour 11 minutes, ahead of John Porzuk by 1.755 seconds. Eric Davis third, Paul Jenkins fourth, Vic Coldrell in the fifth position, Brendan Lichtenberg in sixth, Kerry Bettenhausen in seventh, Tim Holgate eighth, Justin Wolverine in ninth, and then Ryan Murray rounds out your top 10. Rest of the results will be up on your screen momentarily. And after 2 races in a row, Aaron, where we've had, 5 different teams represented in the top 5, 3 different teams represented in the top 5. Today, when all is said and done, the AOX Banshee Autosports conglomerate take the top 5 positions.
And take the top 5, and looking at the stats here, except for Matt Cook, all other finishers in the top 5 started, I believe, 17th or further behind. Vic Cottle started 32nd. So some great moves through the field there. Shows you don't have to start up front to finish there.
Indeed, and we will talk to Matt Cook, your race winner in that number 66 car. Now, Matt, you led pretty much every single lap there is to lead today. An absolute dominant performance, which started in qualifying. Coming home in qualifying, 300ths of a second ahead of your teammate Martin Miller. Take us through your race, because it was more difficult than it looked on paper.
Yeah, it was a really intensive race, mostly because you never know what any other car is going to do on the track. None of the cars are particularly stable on short tracks. At the start of a run, cars can go left, right, crazy around, as you saw with Martin Miller, just completely spun around. So dealing with that is a lot of pressure. You got to really focus down early in the race, and then with the amount of cautions that we had, fuel strategy and everything was constantly changing. Anything could happen at any point.
Anything could have happened at any point in that race. However, were you concerned with that final caution that it might have become a fuel mileage race that you might have been on the wrong side of?
Our initial thoughts was basically that we need to make a stop, but as the run started going, I almost had a feeling that if I saved a little bit, I might be able to just squeeze in enough, but after thinking about it again, talking with some other people, we all agreed, no matter what, this is going to require a stop or a caution. So it was basically just run as hard as I possibly can, get the stop in, and make sure that I come out cleanly. Well,
second victory of the season, which out of the 3 ovals that we had, it's got to be hugely encouraging for you as we now go to 2 road courses in a row before the biggest oval of the season. As these performances going to give you a sense of motivation as we go to a very hard road course next week at Barber?
Yes, it's going to give me more motivation to try and maintain this sort of pace that I'm at. I need to work on Barber a lot, being the next road course, and basically learn the entire thing, so I'm going to have a lot of motivation to step up and do that as best as I can.
Well, congratulations on the race victory. Of course, as part of the iRaceForLife.org Oval Championship, $5 goes to your charity of choice, which is...
I will go with Orphan Secure again, just out of habit.
Not to worry, thank you very much, and congratulations on the race win. Now, of course, the guy who came home in second place, John Paulzuk, 1.75 seconds behind. At one point in that race, you were the fastest guy on the racetrack. However, you couldn't get yourself past Tim Holgate on that final run. Do you think that cost you the chance of going for that race win here today?
No, I don't think it cost me the chance. Matt and I were talking as that run was progressing about where we were with the fuel strategy and how it was going to play out. And we had a pretty good sense from our spotters that the race was going to stay green at the end. So I felt a little bit faster than Tim at points of that run, but I knew that the final pit stops were going to decide who finished where. So I was content to ride with him. I saw that we were gapping the guy running P4, and so I just happened to get a really good pit entry. And I'm not sure what happened to Tim at the end, but I was very happy to bring it home in P2 after starting well back in the field.
And your race itself has been kind of up and down here today. Some good, hard running. Were able to get yourself into the top 5 and were running there for the majority of the race. But, of course, it didn't start the way you wanted it to, starting 27th position in that 27 car.
No, I had a little bit of a technical issue with my qualifying attempt. But, you know, at the end of the day, I knew that this was going to be a long race. I figured there would be many cautions early on. And I was just lucky to be in the right place at the right time to get some good track position with some of those early cautions, and brought it home with a pretty solid finish.
Well, congratulations on second place. We're going to run through as many people as we have time for in the next 5 minutes or so. We're going to start with the guy who came home in 4th position, Paul Jenkins. When did you learn to finish races?
I guess this officially puts to bed the Will and Dave curse, doesn't it?
I think it does.
Thank God.
Well, I'll tell you what. You qualified in the 17th position. You were in that mid-pack, and you somehow found a way of getting yourself through that melee in the middle part of the race. And then it looks as though great pit stop at the end was able to leap yourself up a number of positions.
Yeah, it was a little bit crazy. You know, of course, John and I both had lousy qualifying. John through a little engineering feat, and me, I just suck at qualifying here. But, you know, we both kind of started in the back, kind of mid-pack, and decided to go with a little bit of a different strategy and stayed out. And I think that really helped out a lot. I think that helped us to get towards the front of the pack, kind of stay out a lot of the trouble. But you know, this place is always chaos, and you know, a lot of people spinning, getting loose, and crashing. So I'm just really, really happy to come in 4th.
And of course, with that, you move yourself up into 11th place. You're actually the biggest mover in the championship here today, which guarantees yourself a top 25 entry for at least the next couple of races. Of that going to be a load off your back as we go to Barber in 1 week's time?
Yeah, I really needed to get a solid finish here, and I'm really very pleased with the 4th place. But yeah, you know, having a little bit of insurance there and not having to qualify my way into these races really does help me to concentrate on just, you know, getting ready for the big show, and it does make a big difference, especially with 2 road courses coming up. I'm really not a road course pro, and so I'm just looking for some solid finishes here in the next couple of races and get ready for Indy.
And anyone you want to say thank you to?
Well, just the teammates. You know, Matt did a lot of work on this. John and the rest of my teammates. You know, this is really a team effort. A lot of practice went into this, and a lot of work, and you know, really paid off to make a to give us a car on race day that we were able to drive and not have to worry about really losing control of it. It was a very stable setup considering everything we had.
And thank you for killing the Will and Dave curse.
Oh, now I can get back to being on the show.
Woohoo! It's late. Well done. Let's go through very quickly. Tim Holgate, P8 in this race. All went wrong on that final pit stop.
Well, we had a total brain lapse there. Going into pits for some reason, I decided to take the Richmond entry into 3, and we hit a bump that we didn't ever hit before, and that shot us out to the wall, and that pretty much ended our chance to fight for the podium. I was lucky to bring it home where I did.
And disappointing because you do lose the lead in the championship, which you're now 19 points behind Matt Cook. Are you hoping that your road course experience will come back into play to try and get you back to that top step in the next 2 races?
Well, I've got a couple road courses back to back now, so I usually do pretty well there. I'm not sure if I'll be able to pull out wins, but I am expecting to finish up front. So definitely will be scraping back some of those points, but we can't afford to have mistakes like this when Matt's running so consistent on the ovals.
Well done to you. I say we'll see you in 1 week's time at Barber Motorsports Park. Brandon Lichtenberg, you came home in 6th position. Now, you've had some great battles with a number of drivers, including like Christopher DeMellet, John Porzak, and you came out the better out of all of them battles, coming home in the 6th position, but a tough race for you.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the guys, well, everyone up front is fast, obviously, and the racing, as you said, was really close, and I would have liked the top 5, but given how the season's gone, I think I'll be fine with the 6th place. I'm really happy with my performance tonight.
Happy with your performance in that 12 car, and I say a lot of close, intense racing. Just how crazy was it on the racetrack, especially on those restarts?
Yeah, going into the race, I knew Phoenix is one of those tracks where you'll get really loose in the restarts, depending on your setup. And I got a handle on it. I thought I did pretty well on the restarts. I restarted 2nd on the last restart, and I fell back to 4th or 5th and couldn't claw my way back up. But regardless, I still had a lot of fun tonight driving.
6th place in this race. Looking forward to Barber?
I guess so. I'm not that great of a road course driver, but it's a lot of fun to learn something new, and I'm always looking forward to racing 16th Street.
Well, we'll see you 1 week's time at Barber Motorsports Park. Who else have we got? Ryan Murray. You tried to do the alternate, coming in on the 1 to go, thinking you could make it to the end of the race. You were about a lap short. Do you think if you saved more, you could have done it?
Yeah, I didn't start saving until about 15 to go, but it was just one of those things where I hit the wall racing early, and I really had to adjust my racing setup, drop the jacker to -8 or something just to get a handle on it. And it was one of those unfortunate incidents where I overqualified, considering my oval talent, and, kind of panicked a little bit. I had some great racing with Brandon and everybody, but, nudged the wall after the one weird restart where a guy pulled into the lap, or into the pits right at the end. That screwed everybody up, I think. But, whatever. Since joining Panther Racing, Tim and Niles have given me great setups, and I can't complain with the top 10.
Well, talk about you hitting the wall. Just after you hit the wall, you had 2 remarkable saves. One in turn 1 and 2, one in turn 3 and 4. Were you thinking, please don't spin, please don't spin, please don't spin at that point?
Oh, yeah. That's one of those things where, looking back on it, I have no idea how the car got saved, and I probably couldn't do it again. But I thankfully got lucky and kept it off the wall and didn't bring out a caution. And the next pit stop, they repaired the damage, and I gained a 10th, but I was still about, 0.15 away from the early lap time. So, at the end of the race, I resigned the fact of trying to save fuel because I would only lose 1 overall position. But, it just didn't work out, and I'm still coming in with a top 10 with a wrecked race car, so I'm not complaining.
Well, there we are. Well done on P10. We'll see you in 1 week's time at Barber. And you're looking forward to Barber being a bit more of a road course guy, I'm guessing.
Yes, I would like to finish higher than 5th, than like I did at Sebring, because I should finish better than that at road courses.
Well, we'll see you in 1 week's time at Barber Motorsports Park. Carrying on our random quick set of interviews, we're going to talk to a Canadian, Mr. Canada, Mr. Eric Davis. Hello.
How you doing, Will?
I'm not too bad. You came home 3rd in that melee in the pit stop sequence. You're one of the guys who finished in the top 5, but qualified outside the top 15. Good day for you, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was a really good day. It was about survival for the first 2/3 of the race anyway, for sure. It was just like all kinds of stuff happening.
A lot of stuff happening, a lot of racing for you in that middle portion of the race. And then that final pit stop, just how nervous was it, knowing that you'd have no time to get back through the field if you messed it up?
Yeah, it was just it was. I wasn't really too worried about it. I just try and do my best and make it in there and make it out as fast as I could, and that is what happened. It's kind of Tim had a little bit of bad luck there entering the pit, so I gained an extra position there. It was another little bonus, and like I say, it was a lot of fun this race. I enjoy Phoenix, and these guys have a great setup here. It was really easy to drive after the first couple of laps.
And you go to Barber in 1 week's time. You're pretty competent on a road course, looking for a good finish?
Hope so. Yeah, I like road courses. Barber's one of my favorite, nice technical track.
There we are. We'll see you in 1 week's time at Barber Motorsports Park. Kerry Bettenhausen, you came home in the 7th position in your number 77 car, but your day was not without incident.
Hi, Will. How you doing? My day was crazy from the drop of the green to the checkered. Seemed like there was action all around me. Ran all day, didn't make any major mistakes. Got tapped from behind by Noel McBride inadvertently, I'm sure, going into 3 on the first lap. And then I owe him an apology. I don't know if it was really anybody's fault, but we banged wheels and he crashed on about lap 70. And I hated to see that. I was inside of him, and I don't really know if it was anyone's fault. I think it was just a racing incident, but brought it home in one piece, and that's my first and foremost goal every time I get in the thing.
Brought it home in one piece, and also one of your best finishes in the 16th Street Racing League this season. Is it glad to be able to finally get your season really underway now, sitting 7th in the championship?
Well, I didn't know I was 7th in the points. If that's the case, then hey, consistent finishes are what move you up the ladder. And I love the short tracks. I love Phoenix and Richmond, New Hampshire, Milwaukee, those kind of places. Was disappointed to be out on the first lap at Richmond when the crash happened in front of me, and I'm just glad to, I just kind of was there at Motegi, ran all day, took what I could get, and I wouldn't say I was any more competitive today, but the race, came to me more, and was able to capitalize on a lot of others' misfortune. Certainly didn't have the pace to run with the lead pack, which is probably going to be the case the rest of the season unless I put some more time in, which I don't know that I really have.
Well, talk about liking the short tracks. Are you looking forward to Barber 1 week's time?
I wondered if that was coming. Not unless I put some practice in. Everybody knows I'm not a road course guy, so I seem to practice well, get my confidence up, and then when the race starts, it's always something. Sebring, I was my own worst enemy. I think I was off about 5 or 6 times unassisted, and there's just no excuse for that. That's just needing to be better and nothing else.
Well, no, regardless, in 1 week's time at Barber Motorsports Park. And finally, we'll talk to a guy who we expect to be Barber. However, luck did not go your way, Josh. You were hoping to hit yourself a good top 5 finish.
Yeah, I was really disappointed that ended up going the way it did. I got out by someone that the second time that they don't know what they're doing, and this time it did cost me the finish, unlike Richmond. But had a really good car tonight, thanks to Manly Game Days for coming on board. Happy to have him on the car, but just, I don't know, it's one of those things where it happens and you can't say much about it other than that was pretty dumb.
Next week, Barber, you are looking forward to a better finish in championship standings, 67 points back. John Porzek in 4th, and then Joshua Chin rounds out your top 5 in the championship standings. And of course, after 3 ovals in a row, we now head to a period of 2 road courses in a row, starting with the 16th Street Racing League Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, as the International Light Technologies Road Course Championship kicks itself back into high gear. 52 laps at Alabama is going to be a challenge, Aaron.
It's going to be a challenge. It's perhaps one of the most technical road courses that we will see. Lots of elevation changes. It's going to be tricky. We're going to talk about a lot of drivers being caught out in several of the corners. Very easy in the chicane leading onto the back straightaway to spin the tires. The downhill turn into turn 5 can be difficult. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one for sure.
Matt Cook becomes the first 2-time winner in the 16th Street Racing League this season, as our stretch of 3 ovals in a row comes to an end. This has been an iRacing Brazil presentation of the 16 Street Racing League, round number 5 of the championship. And of course, the oval portion of the 16 Street Racing League is brought to you by iRaceForLife.org. Don't forget Glacier TV every Friday, 4 PM Eastern. It's the craziest thing you'll hear all week long. It's the Will and Dave Show. It's live and exclusive on Glacier TV. You can also find it on iTunes. Myself, Will Vincent, from Aaron Likens and Raphael Sunk on cameras. We'll see you next time when these guys once again have to learn to turn right as well as left. We'll be in Alabama, and I tell you what, there'll be some happier faces than the guys over did at the Crimson Tide 2 weeks ago. In the meanwhile, see you next time. Bye!
All the best to everybody at iRacing Brazil.
Simona Di Silvestro, and I hope all the iRacers in Brazil are having a lot of fun on iRacing.
Hi, I'm Justin Wilson. Want to say hello to all the iRacers down in Brazil. Hope you have fun, enjoy the racing, take it easy.
Hey, I'm Wyatt Gooden, and iRacing Brazil, awesome league. You guys are great, cool league.
Quero mandar abraço aí pro pessoal do iRacing Brasil. Continue jogando aí.
Aí galera, eu sou o Hélio Neves. Fique ligado no iRacing Brasil. Vamos lá, Brasil.
Vamos lá.